Hey guys, Buffy Game Back today, bringing you a video, and today we're going over some Chad loadouts here for Season 4 Reloaded. If you're bored with the meta here at this point in the game, these are primarily going to be for Fortune's definitely get away and run through these. These are more so, I would say, and argue higher skill loadouts, as a lot of them typically are. Some of these, as you can see here, are without suppressors, but if you're getting bored of the crazy Vanguard meta, even though they just buffed some Modern Warfare weapons and then nerfed, I know, at least a few of them a few days later. If you're getting bored of those World War II weapons and trying to challenge yourself with some higher skill type loadouts, this will be for you. So we'll go ahead and jump into this here. First off, the PKM and the Ash 12 or the Oden. So this one, we've covered this. I'm not going to go into it. I'll just show you the loadouts here. This is basically the best PKM and slot loadout that you can build. This thing is always very, very reliable, especially on the smaller Fortress Keep and Rebirth Island maps. Pairing that with the Ash 12 or the Oden CQC build here that you'll see, this thing still hits like a tank up close especially, and I've beat out a lot of Vanguard SMGs, Cold War SMGs, things like that with this thing because it does fire that 12.7 by 55 50 caliber round. So this thing, very, very surprisingly good in close quarters, better than you would expect. Definitely give it a try, and I've done videos on those before, these two weapons before paired together on Rebirth. Go ahead and check those out. If you just scroll through the channel, you'll see a specific video dedicated to these two weapons themselves. Next up, DSA-58 Operational Specialist Weapon, or the OSW. So here we've been over this build before as well. Again, if you look through the channel, you'll see this one extensively used on Rebirth Island, where I was running with this for quite some time, about a month or two ago, and for a lot of success. So we're running attack suppressor on this thing, PBS 1. Because the mono is a PBS 4, so we're trying to give it more of a westernized look here with a tactical suppressor. Barrel length, we're going to run the base barrel. Tac laser on there. PBX Hollow 7 is a good one. I would also recommend the Hollow or the 4x flip. Also works very, very well depending on how your engagements are going to go. And then 30 round magazine of that 7.62 by 51mm NATO and a Ranger foregrip. This is the build I think I had the most success with. You could definitely get away with a lot of the different optics and things like that. I was even running a short OSW barrel with no muzzle and/or no laser and a compensator on there. You can get really crazy with this weapon. I really enjoy this thing. This is a high skill weapon, I would argue, especially the nerfs that it's received. I was using this before it was even buffed way back on the Modern Warfare days. This is a high skill weapon. And I enjoy it. It's very, very rewarding when you get kills with this thing, especially when you outperform and outplay guys that are running the full auto SMGs from Vanguard and things like that. It's just a really rewarding weapon. Definitely, if you can take the time to master that and you have a good trigger finger, I would recommend giving it a try. Next up, the ISO build. So this thing, we've kind of looked at as previous builds similar in the past. FFS Nightshade, this is going to give you the integral suppressed barrel on this thing. Best in slot, damage range, recoil control, bullet velocity, and the sound suppression. Contier ADS speed and the movement speed. We have the 5mW laser there for the hipfire accuracy. PBX Hollow 7. Again, this thing, I mean, I was running it for challenges, and I really enjoy it. This was really the first time I just started running it recently. Even though I don't play that much anymore, this thing is, for whatever reason, just a good, clean sight picture. I really do enjoy it. 50 round drawn with a 9x19 Parabellum and the Merc foregrip. Again, this thing's built for like the CQC builds and hipfire accuracy, obviously, with the Merc and the 5mW laser paired together there. So this is a really nice build. The ISO, very, very underrated SMG, and this thing definitely hits harder than you would expect and has pretty decent range on it. So I'd definitely give it a try. Next up, the Scar. What is a loadout video without the Scar? We've been over this build before. Mono suppressor, 20-inch barrel, hammer sight, 30 round, and the bipod foregrip. This, in my opinion, you can swap this build. You can swap the 20 round for a 17, or the 20-inch barrel for a 17-inch barrel. This is the best build you're going to get. This or the 17-inch barrel. Both work very, very well. Most accurate, and I personally, my play style I've always found the most success basically with this build right here. So give that thing a try. Plenty of videos on the channel for that. ISO is the same build here minus the Merc, so I just put on a commando for that one. Next up, the LMG. So this is my fully loaded Ghost pickup. So this is a weird one, but again, fun to use. We have the XRK long shot adverse, so the gas setting turned up to adverse, so it's going to increase the fire rate around 1,100 rounds per minute. We are not running a suppressor. We're going full chat on this thing. We have the PEC-15 or the tac laser on there. We have the aim point or the aim op reflex running fully loaded here, and the commando foregrip. This thing is a beast and a ton of fun to use. We're running it unsuppressed. Feel free to swap out fully loaded for either the 100 round or the 5.56 NATO or a suppressor if you need it. This thing, again, you're going to blow through the 75 round base belt pretty quick with the adverse barrel. So if you feel like you might need the 100 rounds, go for it. But for me personally, I'd rather have fully loaded on this build, especially because I'm running on suppressed. I want to make sure I have enough ammo. But aesthetically, the Knights Army Company LMG, this thing's just a beast. It's so beautiful looking. One of my favorite LMGs, if not my favorite LMG in the game. And this thing's just a blast. We're going to see this again soon, but definitely this build here, ton of fun to use. Highly recommend it, and you're going to make people wonder what weapon they just got wrecked with. You can see I'm running this with a Renetti, again, mainly for situations where maybe I need a suppressor or something up close and I don't want to be detected on the main map again with a suppressor. So you can see the build here. This is, again, built for accuracy, so I can probably stretch this thing out to some ranges as well. You can feel free to swap out the stock when you guys feel based on your playstyle. But we have the 3-round burst on this thing. Definitely a very good build here, and this thing has gotten me a lot of kills and clutches. So definitely check that thing out. Next up, the LVAW, or the Sig Sauer Black Mamba, low visibility assault weapon. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know this weapon, you've seen this weapon, so I'm not going to go too much into it. This is probably the most covered weapon here on the channel, I would say, this particular build specifically. So we have the Tempest Cyclone, or the integral suppressed barrel on this thing. We have the tac lasers, or the PEC-15 on that top-mounted Picatinny rail. We have the Leopold hammer, or the integral hybrid optic here, so we have that 3.25 and the top-mounted delta point when we need it for close quarters. 60-round casket mag of the 5.56x45 NATO and the commando foregrip. This thing is an animal. This has been always my reliable go-to weapon when we have these insane metas. It's always competed. The M13 just got a buff, unless Raven nerfed it again, because they tend to do that with Modern Warfare weapons. Unfortunately, I know they did it with the Kilo just the other day. I'm not sure if they touched the M13 and nerfed it or not, but it did get a bit of a buff. Again, it's always been a great weapon. I don't even think it needed a buff, but it got it, so I haven't really tried it since. Let me know if you guys have used it since and how it performed. But this is a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing build, and always, always a reliable build, no matter what map you're on. We're pairing that with the M82. So the M82, again, this build you guys have seen. Wrap suppressor on there, 22.6-inch combat recon. This is the best in-slot barrel for the best bullet velocity. Then we're going to run the drop shot wrap for the aim down sight speed, flinch resistance, and the sprint to fire time. 7-round speed mag of that 50 BMG and the bipod. Again, this thing was nerfed, but they rebuffed it, I guess, so it does have the minimum headshot, one shot down, which is good. Unfortunately, it's just, this is a very high skill weapon to begin with. It was a very high skill weapon when it came out. In the video I covered with the M82 right during the Cold War integration, where I mastered this thing and the slow bullet velocity on this thing. This was always a high skill weapon, and they kind of really killed it. But again, it makes it even more of a high skill weapon now, but it's not nearly as viable as it was. There's no reward for learning how to use this weapon really anymore in my mind. But back in the early days of the integration, I did a lot of videos on this, and this thing was just an animal. So check that out. See if what you do with this thing, if it's still viable based on. I think definitely on like Fortune's Keep and Rebirth, you'll be fine. Caldera, I wouldn't really bother with it because it just is not going to be a one-shot headshot no matter the distance. But I've had some of the headshots. I had a headshot with that on a moving ATV or a moving quad. Dude was a king back on Verdansk, and it was something like 600 meters or something. It was ridiculous. So this thing used to be a beast with that headshot. I had a 20 times scope on it, so you guys have probably seen those videos. Great weapon. Unfortunately, it's not what it used to be, but I think you can still work on those smaller maps. Next up, the M4 Assault Mod, Block 2. So we have the mono suppressor base barrel on this thing. We also have the top-mounted PEC-15 for the tac laser. We have the Weaver optic there, the GI Mini Reflex, just a standard red dot sight. And then we have the casket mag of the 5.56x45 and the commando. This is an M4 build that I was using back in Verdansk here and there, and like this thing's just always been very reliable, especially at the medium range. This is a good medium range build, in my opinion. The only better barrels you're going to get here are going to be the Corvus Custom Marksman and the M16 Grenadier. However, you're going to take a big movement nerf with those. So this is a very good build. One of the better builds, I would say, if not the best for what you need to do with the attachments on this weapon. So let me know your thoughts on that. Start this out with the M1A for DMR support here. We have a mono suppressor, 22-inch barrel, no laser on this. We have the LCAN or the Scout Combat for that 3.25, 20-round magazine, the 7.62 by 51 NATO. And then we have the Commando foregrip on there for stability, and then you can see I'm running the T-pose optic. This thing, again, very accurate build, great as a DMR support weapon. Not gonna one-shot headshot anybody, but it's still, if you can master this thing, this again is another high skill weapon. Definitely give it a try. That LCAN on there, you're not gonna get the scope glint, so it'll make it even more effective. Obviously, you can't stretch it out to those ranges, but I think this thing's best at the medium ranges anyways, because it is a designated marksman rifle. So check that out. Let me know what builds you would recommend for that if you've been using it at all on the new maps. Next up, the SAW, or the Mark 46 build here. This one, we've covered extensively on the channel in the past. Always an underrated weapon that for whatever reason, I never see this, either the Bruin period in the game anymore, really. But no one's really ever run this build, I don't think, outside of myself. And I think maybe Tactical Brit picked it up a little bit after me back on Verdansk. We have the mono suppressor. We have the Mark 46 barrel here, or the XRK Horizon 23-inch. And that's going to give us the damage at range and the bullet velocity increase without the movement penalty of the 26, and the only con is the ADS speed, which we're mitigating with the TAC laser. We have the Leopold Hammer, or the Integral Hybrid, and the Commando foregrip. Again, this thing, very, very, very reliable build. Can't recommend it enough. This is one of those old reliable weapons that has always been able to compete with the best of them, for sure. Check that thing out. Let me know what you think. The AUG, we've been over this build before. Mono suppressor, 407mm lightweight, PBX7, 60-round drum mag of the 5.56 by 45, converting this into the AR build from the SMG, the base 9x19, and we have a Commando foregrip. This thing, again, underrated. No one runs it. Very, very powerful, especially in close to medium range situations. Next up, LMG is back, this time with just the regular gas setting on the barrel here. So we have the mono suppressor, XRK long shot barrel, best in-slot barrel for the slower fire non-adverse gas settings here. Damage at range, bullet velocity, recoil control. This is going to fire around 550 to 600 rounds per minute. Slow firing, but again, very, very accurate. In real life, this is the Knights Armament Company LMG. It has a counterbalance recoil system. So again, the way it works, we've been into it in the videos. You can check those out on the channel. But essentially, equal opposite reaction. There's no recoil on this weapon in real life, and they do a pretty decent job here in the game of replicating that. Not as good as they did replicating the World War II weapons, however. Raven really did a bang-up job with that. But this weapon is definitely an underrated light machine gun. Next up, we have the LCAN on this thing. Again, 3.25. Using this for a longer range engagement machine gun, obviously. And we have the T-pose optic on there. Really clean precision sight picture and easy to beam people at longer ranges and just get the accurate fire there. 5.56, 100-round belt for this thing, because we're upping it from the 75 base to a 100-round belt of the 5.56 by 45 NATO, and the Commando foregrip, again, just for more added stability. This weapon is a blast to use. This, I've had a lot of great games with this. Highly recommended if you haven't used it. Let me know your thoughts of it. And again, this is, again, a higher skill weapon because it doesn't have a headshot multiplier on it, and the slow rate of fire, but it's accurate. And you can definitely outperform people and outplay people with this thing. And it's one of those weapons that's very rewarding. Next up, we have the Uzi. Again, we covered this before. Mono suppressor, 16.5-inch factory, 5 milliwatt laser, 50-round mag of the 9x19, and the Merc foregrip. This thing just got a buff the other week with the Season 4 Reloaded. I haven't really used it since, but definitely I was having a lot of success with it prior, so it's got to be even better now. So go ahead and check that thing out. Try to replicate the Uzi Pro with that build. Next up, we have the AK-M. So this build running the mono suppressor, Spetsnaz barrel, Solo Zero, NVG enhanced, so 3.25. Really, really cool barrel or optic on this thing. This is the advanced Gen 3 night vision with thermal overlay. This thing's a beast. It's a lot of fun to use. Again, one of those meme type weapons and attachments, but very rewarding. Next up, we have the FSS close quarter stock there for that AK-12 butt stock, and we have the Ranger foregrip. So this is our AK-M build. Very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing weapon. And again, fun to... One of those weapons where you're getting kills with this, you're having fun. So definitely give it a try if you're trying to just have a good time. Pairing that with the Vector, again, you can see the barrel here, 18-inch, 5mm laser, 40-round drum, commando foregrip, and sleight of hand. Really, really good with the iron sights on this. They're nice, clean, open iron sights. The aperture is not tiny at all, so it's easy to use the iron sights. Definitely recommend this build. It's a really good build. And again, the Vector, really high rate of firing game here, around 1,200 rounds per minute. Next up, we have the G36. So this is a weapon that I had a ton of success with on early Verdansk. We're running the compensator on this for added recoil control because this thing has a lot of bounce. Base barrel on this thing, tac laser, the PEC-15 on that Picatinny. We're running the integral 4x optic here. Really clean sight picture on this. Again, you're using this for like a medium range weapon also. So you see what we're pairing it with. 30-round magazine, Merc foregrip. Merc foregrip, I found versus Ranger or Commando gives you the best recoil. However, this or the Commando, this or the Commando would do a really good job. For whatever reason, I've just historically had more success with the Merc, but I think the Commando is just as good, if maybe not a little better. Really depends on what your play style is. But check it out. Let me know what you think. G36, definitely, again, a meme weapon, but one of the rewarding ones. And we're pairing that with the H&K MP7, monosuppressor, FFS Recon, 5 milliwatt, the 60-round magazine, and the Ranger foregrip here. This thing, again, always really, really good CQC support is the MP7. Those are all of our Chad approved builds here to counter the meta. Let me know your thoughts here. What's your favorite build that we went through in the list? What builds are you using right now for success on Fortune's Keep, Rebirth, and Caldera? Let me know down below. Till next time, this is Buffner Gaming, out.